Welcome to On the Couch, the podcast where real conversations meet real change. Pull up a seat, get comfortable, and join us as we dive deep into the conversations that matter most to Black and Brown communities. Hosted by Dr. Diamond and an incredible lineup of co-hosts. On the Couch brings you raw, insightful, and empowering discussions, from mental health and wellness to entrepreneurship, life insurance, healthcare, and everything in between. Our mission is simple: to educate, uplift, and create space for conversations that need to be heard. Whether you're here for practical advice, motivation, or just a dose of inspiration, you've come to the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about the things that shape our lives, our futures, and our communities. This is On the Couch, where we keep it real, keep it relevant, and keep it moving. Let's get started.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me on the couch today. I'm your host, Dr. Diamond, with, of course, my lineup of co-hosts. But right now, I'm on my own. But anyway, I'm here to have a great conversation about belonging. What does that mean to the average person? You know, we want to belong to something, or we want people to belong to us. So again, what is the point of view of that? What does belonging mean in this society today? We are looking at how belonging, how these people are accepted into certain groups. For example, when you think about the person that's running the country right now, and the people that want to belong to him, and what that means to them, to belong and be a part of what he's doing, good, bad, or indifferent. But, again, this topic, I wanted to delve into this topic because, I just think about, what does that mean for us when you want to belong? What do we sacrifice or think about or willing to give up to belong to certain things? So I just want us to delve into this conversation today, and, let's just get into it. What does that mean to belong? Don't forget to drop your comments if you have comments about, what belonging means. What does that mean to you? What does that mean for family, community? Because we're going to delve into that entire topic and really expound on it. And then again, if my co-hosts decide to join on, it'll be great. But, sometimes it's summertime, and I know a lot of things are going on for a lot of people. And, I respect that. So as they pop on, we will keep on going on with the conversation. Just to also give you an update, my brother was supposed to come back on, but unfortunately he was not able to come back on due to personal reasons. But he will be back soon. When he gets an opportunity, we will delve back into, what he established, which is the non-bullying techniques and things that he came up with, and his why he decided to do that. So you were able to get into what he was talking about when we talk about anti-bullying, when he came up with this particular type of campaign. And, I do want to delve into more of why he decided to do it. Because again, when you think about belonging too, what does that mean too when you're trying to be a part of a group of people? And what does that mean to feel like you're on the outside because of the way people may view you, judge you, whatever the case may be, but you still want to try to belong to a group? Again, what does that mean? So when you think about us as human beings, we are social creatures, so we will or want to socialize with others. Many people learn how to be on their own. A lot of the times, people that are only child, they kind of know how to be on their own, but they also, strive and thrive and want companionship, friendship, or belonging to a group of people, or just having friends. But then what type of people are you trying to associate with? What does that mean to belong? Are you going to give up something to be a part of a group because you have been that individual on your own for a certain amount of time? So what does that mean? So these are the things again that I would like to talk about. And what does that do to you mentally? When you think about belonging, how does that affect me as the person? How do I feel about myself when I want to be a part of something? And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, because belonging to something could be quite good for you, because again, we want to socialize with others. We don't always want to isolate. We don't want to be antisocial, because those things at times it's not always beneficial to us either, that we are constantly isolating and not being a part of something. So let's talk about, again, belonging. So when I think about belonging in the community and how we adapt to others, let's define that. So belonging, how do we define it, and how do you experience it? So for me, if I'm just going to talk about myself, I can either be a part of a group or not be a part of a group. So for me, it was just learning that, one, as we grow as from infancy to adulthood, we experience a lot of friendships, we experience a lot of belonging. And the first place you begin that is in your home. You learn to socialize, especially when you have siblings. When you have siblings, you learn to socialize and to belong. You belong to your families. You belong inside of your community. Your community is where you begin to learn to adapt to others, work with others, learn about yourself. When you are in a group with others, there are times that you feel like, do I belong? Do I not belong? I'm about to bring in Mark Lee with this conversation as well. I'm going to catch him up on what I'm talking about so he can delve into this conversation as well. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Didn't know whether I had to be at the center today, but I did because the jazz band was practicing and everything
Oh,
like that. But definitely, and apparently the main computer is not acting all that right. But I thought I'd pop in and see what you had going on.
well, this morning my conversation is about belonging. What does that
Right.
mean to the average person? So, what I was delving into is how we begin to belong. What does that look like for us when because we're part of communities. The first place we learn to belong is within our families. Hey, Toya, how are you?
Good morning, y'all.
Yeah, so I was just talking to our audience, of course, our followers, about what belonging means. And it can mean many different things to us. And what I was delving into is the beginning of our belonging. We usually start that out in the beginning of our lives when we are brought into our families. We're birthed into our families, and the first place you're belonging is the same people that have the same blood running through their veins. Your veins, in other words. You belong, you're part of something. This is what you're part of, your family. But then outside of that, you go out into the community and you do belong to a community as well. And you begin to belong there. And then when you move forward, you start school. You begin another community where you're belonging there. But I think about too, what do we sacrifice at times to belong? And those are the things that I want us to kind of delve into today, because we do tend to sacrifice things. And I'm talking about sometimes our dignity, our respect for
Hmm.
ourselves to
Yes,
belong
ma'am.
to a certain group of people that may not even want us around. And I'm just keeping it real, because I'm pretty sure we all have experienced that.
Yes,
So
and we talked
what
about
do you
that last
think?
week, right? So look at the alignment.
It's
Oh,
interesting you bring.
me out from last week, and I'm so sorry again. Time gets away from me, right?
No,
Because
It's
you know
time gets away
why?
Friday.
from us.
Because
Time
it
gets
is
away
the
from us
last.
all and everything like that. But it's interesting you bring up the topic of belonging because I know that both
Oh,
you, I believe, and your husband are members of the Greek organizations. And part of the reason I did not join the Greek organizations is because while they do a lot of great work in the community and they do a lot of work in terms of things to help out the community, whether that's fundraisers for other organizations, or whether that's doing some give back kind of things, and all along those lines. I just knew that I was recruited by two of them. I was recruited by the Kappas, and I was recruited by the Alphas and everything like that. I think my roommate was a Kappa and everything like that. But I just remember that when he went through the initiation process, there were a couple of those pledge things, and I understand it's not as bad now as it used to be, but there were a couple of those pledge initiations that when he came back, and this was a tough guy from Yonkers, and he's coming back and he was like practically in tears, or he was talking about things that they had done to parts of his body and everything like that involved the initiation process, including like maybe some hot sauce and stuff like that. I was like, no, that's okay. I don't want to belong that much. I
It's
hear where
funny
y'all are
you
going.
say that because my freshman year, and it's the difference because the guy that I was dating at the time, I had to nurse his booty wounds because he got branded on his butt and
Right.
couldn't sit down. So me being new, dating this guy, and I was gonna go with him, but they wanted me to go to second year. So that's a whole nother topic, but I understand, but it's a test. And I think,
Right.
Mark, I think that when we were young, we didn't know what the test was. And at that point, I was told not to be the sweetheart to the guy that I was seeing. So that was a whole thing. But then later on, I saw those people later on. Shout out to Nate Bryant. And that's how long I've known him. And basically, you're correct. And I didn't understand that part. I just know that there was some burnt on the booty part. He was branded as
Like I
So,
said,
yeah.
between the branding and between some of the other things that go on in that initiation process, I was like, I'll pass. And like I said, I was recruited, and I get it that there are some good networking opportunities, because what I understand, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, is that if a person is a fellow member of that association or that organization, it's not just the ones that I'm talking about. It also includes things like the Elks and the Kiwanis Club is your of certain societies and everything like that, and even like the Grand Masons and stuff like that. That if you belong to these groups, they're supposed to look out for you if you are a fellow member. Say if you're going for a job, or if you're going for an opportunity, or all along those lines. So I understand the networking opportunities that exist because you are with people that are like-minded, that have gone through the same process that you've gone through. I understand that that's part of the reason that Kamala did so well, is because she went through the whole Delta process. I think it was Deltas, or was it AKAs? It was one of those, but she went through that whole Greek process and everything along those lines. So definitely that's part of what can help you in your development and in terms of job opportunities. But I just didn't want to go through the sacrifice. I'm just going to be honest.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Mark. Your honesty, because I think that for folks we're actually involved, and you have people who are on the outside, but I think that the whole process is the unknown, and people are afraid of the unknown. And I'm in agreement with that because of the scholarships. I received some of those scholarships to get me through college, Seton Hall,
Right.
and I got a refund. So in reference to that, I would say, yes, there are some good things. But the one thing that I don't care for is that when there's unknown, people will slander or talk about what they don't know. And as
Right.
you know, with anything, when we go to work, right, we sit there for the 9 to 5 or whatever your hours are, but whatever you do after work is your business. So I think that sometimes people on the outside that they don't know, that could be another story. But thank you for your honesty, because obviously you know what's going on. I just kept going, Dr. Diamond, because he was really
Thank you. I appreciate it, because I'm multitasking with my granddaughter here, folks.
Always. Where my baby at? Where's she at?
She over here joining. Come here. Miss Toya right here.
In a little while?
Say hello. Say hello.
Hello, beautiful. How you doing? Am I going to see her in a little while?
Yes.
I will see you after my other meeting, because I want to play. I just miss her. Her hair is getting so pretty. See, this is what it is. She's getting ready to observe her Dr. Diamond, because she has her special name, but I'm not gonna put it on blast. But she, we learn from example. Look at that. And that's what happened. So you see, your history is gonna repeat it. Your aunt told you to be greater than her, and she's gonna be greater than you.
That is true. That's so true. So I'm gonna read something in just a second. Give me one moment. Toya, take over 1 second for me, okay?
Okay.
Belonging.
So yes, as we sit here, we talk about belonging. Yes, Mark is correct. Dr. Diamond and I and her husband, Team Pearson, we're involved in different PHA organizations. But the thing is that her husband is also part of the Divine Nine. That's what Mark was explaining. And for here, That was going to be on my journey. Maybe on my bucket list, but I don't know. At that time, there was some adversity that I faced. But I think that now everything is in alignment for me, because sometimes when we join something, we don't understand what it is. And as we spoke with Dr. Madam Butterfly last week, we were talking about certain rooms and being with like-minded people. So yes, Mark hit on that. You want to be with like-minded people. There is networking that takes place. And that's one of the things. There's national conferences, just as with work. So you have to think about it. When you are in a person of color, you're going to go and you're going to reach out to organizations that's going to sharpen you. A cliche that we always say is iron sharpens iron. So think about it. If I am someone that is seeking knowledge, as Dr. Diamond has said, her aunt said, you know what? I got a master's. You need to do better than me. My late grandfather, Dr. Reverend Raymond Geeson, he said, baby Todd, you need to get your doctorate. However, I got the loan forgiveness, so I'm doing it the other way. I'm writing my dissertation and then going to school. Because right now, if I can't finish this paper, why am I going to spend money? And that's one of the things that we do talk about on these platforms is transparency. Right now, the government has changed, and I'm going to remind you all, there are only $80,000 in cap and loans. So if you're thinking about your education, folks, anyone listening to the playback, the government only gives you $80,000. And the reason why I found out, because I had 2 nursing clinicals to finish, and I wanted to finish that other degree. And because it was going to be $80,000, I said, you know what? I'm working in a capacity. I think I'm just going to get my doctorate or something else, or just be an entrepreneur. Because right now, why would I put money on something? Because my life changed. And I think that for some people, we search and search, but you don't want to go into debt. That's the thing. You don't want to go into debt, because then once you get there, imagine you striving, then you're in your debt bag because you're stressed out, and then all the money goes, and that could have went to your family and your legacy. So just think about it. Just some food for thought.
That's food for thought. That is cool. I'm going to read something to you all while we are, delving into this topic. And again, this is about belonging. So I want everybody to listen to this and then think about what I'm saying. Belonging is a basic human need. That's what I led out with earlier. Human beings are happier and healthier when they feel they belong, and when that belonging lacks, it affects their self-concept and ability to experience fulfillment. People experience belonging in families, clubs, neighborhoods, faith communities, interest groups, schools, and so many more places. So this guide invites you. So this conversation will invite you to feel what that means.
Experience. That's the experience. People don't understand what experience is. It's your lens, your reality. And once you know how you're feeling, and I don't mean to interject, but I go into my prayer closet, which I really didn't realize that's what I was doing, but now I put a name to it. When you're sitting there meditating, what you're doing is you're accepting your reality in front of you. And think about it. When you walk it out, one of the young guys, JV, remember he was on the show, he says, I walk it out. Walk it out means I'm going forward, like a horse. I ride horses. Think about a horse like this. The distractions come from your left and your right. That's what we're doing. That's our experience. So when someone tells me that's not what your experience, I don't know what you did when you woke up at your house today. It's 11:18. I know what I did today. So having that. So that's an experience which gives you that belonging when you walk out into the world. So I just wanted to set that visual, because I'm the visual person over here.
That's good. You set that visual. So I need everybody to think this way. Thinking of your own experience, what fosters or inhibits a sense of belonging? So when I speak about my own experience, there are times that, like I laid out earlier, that there are times I want to belong to the group, and sometimes I don't want to belong to the group. So, and then also I feel energy. I'm an energy person too. So if I feel your energy is off with me, then my natural instinct is to defend. Now, not always physically defending. My defense will be, let me protect my feelings. So I may not say anything. I might fall back. I'll go, sit down somewhere, because whatever your energy is, I'm picking up that you don't.
You're absorbing it. You're absorbing it.
Yes. Yes. Either you don't want to speak, you don't want another person in your life at that time right now. So I'm picking up many things. However, there are times that you know, some people may come back later and say, oh, you know what, I didn't mean to be that way that day. You know, I was a little, my energy was off. Let me apologize about that. I really didn't want to do that. So on and so forth. You know, so again, when if you're picking off energy, and because we're beings, we have souls. Out one soul pick up on the other soul. But again, if you don't feel like you want to be, or you're not welcomed, then you're not going to go forward, right? So me experiencing, it inhibits me from moving forward with a person if they give me an energy
It's
of
a
cutting me off.
distraction.
Be
Hey,
bothered.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt y'all, but I'm doing multitasking like you are and everything like that. But Dr. Diamond, I think I've mentioned it to you before. I know I've definitely mentioned it to your husband before, but there is a song that I love dearly because y'all know I'm into blues and everything like that. But it's a song about belonging and everything like that. Because the song is called, well, actually, there are two songs that I love because we just had our retreat at Hayti yesterday and the day before, and we had to create a playlist. So I had on my playlist was Summer Days, which is a great Angela Bofield song. The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. But also on my playlist was We Are Family, because I'm a big fan of We Are Family and the Sister Sledge song and all along those lines, which is definitely about belonging because it's talking about the connection that those sisters had and everything like that. But another song that I did not put on the playlist this time, and there were some songs that were put on by co-workers. Like I remember one of my one of the consultants put on Sam Cooke's Change Is Gonna Come, and there were other songs, including some Beyonce songs. They were on the list. But one of the songs that I did not see on the list from anybody, but it's a great song, is MSG's the acoustic trio's song called Mean Church People. Because we know that that's one of those groups that you can belong to, but sometimes it can be a little bit of a side swiping going on in the church, which is basically what the song is talking about. It's talking about this notion of, I know you ain't talking about people and their womanizing when you're doing the same thing in the pulpit. And I know you're not talking about being mean to people of a different lifestyle when you've got some issues yourself. Maybe it's not the different lifestyle, but you've got some other issues going on as well. So that's kind of a summary of the song. But if you hear the song, it's quite hilarious because it's basically calling out those people that will sit there in church all day long thinking that they're belonging, but they're also doing something. Speaking of another song, they're doing something that the OJs were very keen on talking about, which is backstabbing and everything like that. So I know I put out all in music references, but hey, I do love my music and everything like that. But it's just interesting that that's a song that has resonated with me for decades. I think that song was released like in the 90s, so maybe in the early 2000s, but it still resonates when you hear the song. So if you get a chance, go to YouTube, and this is for our listeners too, and look up MSG I'm trying to think of what the MSG stands for, but it's the acoustic trio and everything like that. But just look up Mean Church People MSG, and you will, and listen to the lyrics. You will be dying laughing.
So belonging for you two, what does that mean for you two? Like what I just talked about. What fosters or inhibits a sense of belonging for you? What does that mean for you?
I'm gonna jump in. Basically, Mark, you hit it on the nail. When we walk out, as I put up the blinders, right? When I walk out my house every day, I have a plan for the day, right? So to respond to what you said, Dr. Diamond, is once I walk into this room, I had a goal, and then I'm receiving energy. And you understand? So for a person who understands your soul, you can feel that. I'm just going to say that. And then for people that they're quote unquote are an empath, that means they're open. They're in the light, as that's what I hear. And so I'm going to, and it's funny, I was watching True Blood because I'm a True Blood person. Remember Snooki Stackhouse? I'm going to give you her. Remember, she was a fairy. For people who need to understand what that is, those are someone who is, as we say, for the believers, we're in the spiritual world. We are very in tune to our feelings, how it changes. You have to think with kids, you'll say, we got to turn that frown upside down. So think about it. As a boy mom, this is a challenge for me. So I think that gave me more of a way to really cue into my son because he didn't talk. So from there, the nonverbal cues is what I use. When he got up in the morning, depending on, you can attest to that, Dr. Diamond, raising a boy moms is different. Girls are coming, mommy, can I have a hug? That was the challenge for me. So from there, it gave me another lens to say, you know what? Then I think I need to step back because as he got older, it shut him out because I was a little too pink and fluffy. So now just think about relationships. If that is a trigger for someone, because one of the things that's in group therapy and working with folks with mental illness and addictions, Micah, Cammie, you have to think when someone's under the influence, they're going to go off. When you get up, Dr. Diamond, you said the person came back, they reflected. And what I had to learn just in my journey myself recently, while I was grieving different losses last year, folks don't know when to take a warning. So basically, it's not that I'm not being open. It's just that right now I have to protect myself. I have things that I have on my plate that I committed to. So I don't want to get the slander of saying, oh, she signs up for something, et cetera, because sometimes that is lens. So what do? We push forward. We walk it out. As JV said, and through that you walk it out. You're faced with what you have. So that's where we are. And this is what we need to start talking about. So for me, I done set the stage visually. So now this particular day, I walk out, you know what? We're going some today. Then I'm triggered. So what do? You have to respond and not react. But I think sometimes if a person is grieving or having that bad day, it may not be the day for you. So again, belonging means that you understand my disposition. If you know who I am, you know what my status quo is. Do you know what status quo is? What is my normal? So if I walk into the room when I'm doing group therapy, running into the group home, I can tell how's everyone doing. So you have to think of the mental health professional. We're trained to do that as a clinician or anything like that, but a lay person would not know. So if anyone listening today is, you have to be aware of what your disposition is today. Are you at your status quo? Because now if you're not at your status quo and I walk out, so this is what we do. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. This is the first time in my life through me belonging, I had to exercise something that I taught. Cognitive is what we think. Behavior is what you do. CBT. Anyone thinking of that? Self-taught. Look up what cognitive behavioral therapy is. The last one is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Self-actualization. As your husband said, self-preservation. So I know this is a lot, but that's what I have to do. So that would give you the armor to face any situation. So when I get up today, I'm happy. But if it's a bad day, maybe if you're having a bad day, maybe stay home. So that you don't have to reflect later. So basically what I heard, because I've heard thousands of stories of people on my couch, and that person said, I relapsed yesterday because someone triggered me. So what I told that person, I think you might need to do a 90 meetings in 90 days because you don't want to go back to jail. You know, you're here with Matt. I don't want you to be reincarcerated. This is your third time your strike is out. So sometimes somebody needs someone to talk them off the edge.
This
so
is
hopefully
true.
That's what I can give you, because right now that's what it's like sometimes for us.
Being transparent. Hey, just really quickly along those same lines about belonging, because I was thinking about a couple of things about belonging, because I definitely think, I mean, both of you are fortunate to have kids in your life. You all are both parents, if I remember correctly, and all along those lines. I am not a parent, but I am a uncle, and all along that kind of way. But I am also the father figure or uncle figure or kind of like mentor figure to many, including those that I work at here at the center and everything like that. To me, that's a belonging thing. Like I know that some people will come in here and they'll use a African term. They used to use it with Baba Chuck when he was living, but they might come in and they'd be like, hey, Baba Mark, what's up? And everything like that, because it's a endearment term, meaning that I respect you and I definitely see what you are doing in the community and that I am honoring what you are doing in the community, whether it's being serving in the role of a historian here at the center, or whether it's just kind of like helping with some of the event coordination and event planning and stuff like that. But they respect me for that field. And while I may not have birthed them and everything like that, I am part of their development and all in that kind of way. So a lot of times it's not just those people that you are directly connected to, like I'm connected to my nephews and others, but it's sometimes people that are in your peer group. I know that I have a number of friends that have kids, and I know that those kids are folks, people that I look up to and try to keep up with. And sometimes it even can be folks that you might be keeping up with in a distance, but they still feel like they belong to your development and who you are as a person. Like I said, I've been fortunate in life to have a couple of lady loves. I actually use that term because I even use it with my dad and everything like that, and his lady love of 25 years. But I know that some of her my dad's girlfriend's family, I feel connected to them. Like I said, we've gone on beach trips and things like that on occasion, but I also know that if I need to, I can reach out to Adam and Leah, who are her kids, and that they would probably be there to help me if I needed them. So, there's people like that. And the same with some of the people that I influence and I'm willing to help if I have the resources. You don't always have the resources that you want to help folks and all along those lines. But it's just that connection that you have if you're part of a group. Because I've been part of HATI probably for about 35, 40 years or something like that. So I've been here for a number of years, have seen the development of several directors, have seen festivals come and go, seen festivals go through various incarnations and all along those lines. So it's just kind of like seeing this and also seeing people grow. I remember some of these people that are the dancers now that were, I remember when they were toddlers, they were like your daughter, April, and everything like that. So I remember when they were that age and running around the center, and now they're like grown people with their own kids. And I'm going like, wait a minute, when did that happen? And when did y'all get big and everything like that? But even in the workplace, because there's this notion, and it can be troublesome sometimes, but if you're doing it and you're doing it correctly, I don't think that there's a problem with it. Like I have a dear friend of mine, actually I need to call her. It's been a minute since I've called her and everything like that. But we worked when we were in a physical building because, so now more people are doing work remotely. But when we were in a physical building, we would hang out for lunch and stuff like that. People got to the point of calling her, and I know some people take offense at this term, but her husband, even after her dad died, her and her husband brought me clothes because, like I said, they were clothes that were available, like suits and stuff like that. So I remember he drove her over to my house and was like, "Hey, this is my dad's and father-in-law's clothes that don't fit. Maybe they'll fit you," and everything like that, because she was kind of my work wife. And I think that the husband even recognized that there was nothing going on other than us being really friends, is what it amounted to. There was no like cheating. I wasn't trying to hit on her or anything like that, but we were just good friends. So, but we were in that work environment. So I think that he respected that and knew that I respected the boundaries. Like some people will do not respect the boundaries and they might try to push it over the limit. Now that's not cool. If you're trying to be like a real work wife or a real work husband and you try to do the cheating thing, that ain't cool. But if you're just doing it as a friendship thing, that's a whole nother thing. And I think that as long as you respect the boundaries and you are clear about it, and they're clear about it even when they're talking to their spouse. Because like I said, I've seen him out and about. The man's a sanitation worker and everything like that. So I've seen him out and about. He's seen me out and about, and it's not like he's ready to come over here and slap me because he thinks that I'm trying to move in on his wife and everything. We're just good friends.
Mark, he always got a little something in there. See, you look at Mark, you don't think he's paying attention, but he's really paying attention.
But I can say though, I'm glad you brought that up, that platonic relationships are real. You can have that with someone that is not your male and a female can be friends, like best friends. And sometimes those are healthier relationships. For me, when I was growing up, belonging to me would be around the boys and hanging around them. I had fun with them because I was a tomboy and they accept me easier. That's what I felt. And again, I still have those characteristics. I really do. Where I feel like, I can sit around a whole bunch of guys and we can have conversations and have fun and talk. And the realism is there and the energy is there. And it's not energy of, why is she looking over here? And it's none of that. It is the acceptance of you, the person. And I think sometimes we as Black women and women of color in general, a lot of us need to grow as far as that when it comes to that. We all want a sense of belonging to something, even if it's just a small group of sisters, but all of you have the same ideas. All of you are willing to grow together. All of you are willing to support each other. That is a sense of belonging. When you feel rejected, that does something different to you.
Yeah, because everyone is not honest. They're not honest about their motives. And I think that as you say, with different ages, and I like that you said that because you and I are very similar. We're both Leos, we're fire signs. And I said that we're in alignment because the more and more we talk, I would be around the boys. And then it's so funny. It was like crazy because most of my friends, they were intimate with my girlfriends. And like, you understand what I mean? So they were like, they would come around because I would be like, they're picking us up. That I have my mom teased about your cronies. You and your cronies going somewhere. So before I was driving, I was getting picked up by older friends and stuff. And I think about shout out to Larry L-Wise. And it was so funny because everybody was like, why y'all want to get to? I said, that's my brother. Matter of fact, he dated some of my friends. So I can't do that. But folks on the outside did not understand that. But he's the one They had the friends, and that's how I learned Essex County. And then when I went to college, it's like everything was laid out that I had decided to go to that school. So you're correct. When you're a tomboy, for any girls that are tomboys, we're okay. Then eventually the cocoon comes up. Now I'm the adult butterfly. I was a tomboy, thought I wasn't cute. I posted a thing with Leah Long. She said she was with the B group of girls. I thought I was a B girl. I didn't think I was an A girl. Somebody may say I'm an A girl now. No, because you become who you are. So don't worry about that. So thank you, April. Tomboys become butterflies too.
Your tomboys
Yeah.
can definitely become butterflies and everything like that. Hey, just really quickly along that same line, because I know that even in my own life, talking about belonging and everything like that, there are relationships that you develop, and some of those relationships may go south for whatever reasons they go south and everything like that. But I still think that you have a connection to those people. Like I said, I know that I check in regularly. I might not go and check on her all the time, but I check in regularly with one of my friends' children and everything like that. There you are. So I'm never sure what to call them, a he or she, because they're going through that whole trans process and everything like that. But they are part of the music community here and everything like that. So I might run into see, now goes by the name Sinclair. So I may run into Sinclair, formerly Genevieve, and everything, and check into what they've got going on in their musical career, because that was the daughter of AX, and me and the X are still friends. We just aren't in a romantic relationship. But even if I'm talking to her, I might check on her, and I might also check in on Sunday. And when we were dating, Sunday was a little kid. Sunday was going to elementary school. Sunday's a grown woman now, and everything like that. But we might check, and even mom sometimes will ask about how's Sunday doing, or how's this one doing, that was associated with me, that they might have been in the house and everything like that. Like one said, Malik is not currently with his past girlfriend for several years. They may get back together, they may not. But heck knows what fate will bring in their life. But for now, I know that both dad and mom are checking in on Jack and Effie, just to see how they're doing as grown people, because Effie's working in the school system and Jack's over there at North Carolina State University. So the people that you sometimes become part of your belonging community because they become part of your extended family. But even if the extended family fissions or fusions for some reason, I'm sure that even some of you, I know because you've talked about it, Toya, I know that you've kept in touch with some of the kids of some of the people that you might not have, that you might have been engaged with or involved with, then, and whether that's keeping in touch with them directly by like going to talk to them directly, or whether that's keeping in touch with them indirectly through people that might know them. I do know that you keep in touch with some exes' kids, because y'all had a relationship just like I had a relationship with some of the kids that I was involved with and everything like that. And sometimes it's just a matter of checking in on them. I mean, I've got another ex that her daughter is probably in her 20s or 30s now. And if I'm calling her up, I'll check with her, and I'll also check with her son, because when we were dating, her son was literally in the system. Because I think it was after we broke up that the son got out of the system. But I will sometimes call her up and be like, how you doing? Or she might call me to see what events are going on at the center, because she used to love coming to events here at the center. And I will, in the process of the conversation, ask her about her son. I can't think of the son's name right now. Or I'll ask her about her daughter and things like that. So we'll definitely find that connection sometimes, that even if the relationship went south, there was a period of time that you were with them, so you felt a connection to their kids as well.
Thank you, Mark. I just want to expand upon that. You are correct. And it's funny because I get referrals from the ex, and she's older now. And I met this one little girl, Tam. She was 3 at the time. And now later on, even though her and her father are not together, but one of the things is that as my father loved women, as he said, he's a conversationalist. One of the things that I learned as I became an adult, some of those people, or the old folks, they used to call them uncle or aunt or friend. And I think that for our generation, I don't know for any one of you guys, it confused me, because someone you thought that was your aunt or uncle actually was their romantic interest. Right. So in that particular case, that's a whole nother story. So the only thing I can say is have transparency, because kids watch. And for me, back then, kids, we were observing. They said we were being nosy. So you might have a complex that someone said, you're being nosy. No, we were just being aware. So anyone listening with your children, they're listening when you don't think they're listening. And you hit a point. And the good thing is, if you are in a relationship with someone, you don't want a scar. One of the things that I had developed with scars over the years, that I had to go in and address those scars. Because if you're really with a woman or a man, don't intertwine with their children. It's best to date in private. And that's the reason why I date in private, because I didn't want my son confused. Because if he saw something, what kind of example am I doing? Because I saw the examples that I saw around me, and I wanted to break that cycle. So for anyone that doesn't know, new parent or anything, anyone listen to the playback, make sure that you look at those relationships, because your children are paying attention, and you don't want to confuse them, because that also affects their self-esteem later. And these are things that we learn from learned behavior. So thank you, Mark. Again, I've had
No,
in my
no,
family, even though they had multiple women, they made sure those kids that they were friends with or took care of them, they made sure they had graduation gifts. They still checked on them, because that's very pivotal in our communities, in the Black and brown. They had people that come and knock on the door. What's that movie? Dead Presidents.
right.
Remember Cuddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just think about that. That's in our culture. Remember Cuddy coming with the lollipop and everything. And Dean Geronimo, hey Dean, because you know what I'm talking about. Us little kids.
I saw Dean in the
Yeah,
background
Dean,
too.
I was about to invite him into this conversation about, belonging. The conversation is about belonging, and what does that feel like for you? Or what does that mean to you, Dean, about belonging?
It's not instantaneous. It's something where when you in fact, if you talk about new relationships, that's just, you don't belong until you are trusted, until you are honest, until you are straightforward, until you're able to tell the truth. Hey, look, if you dating 2 or 3 people, say that shit. Don't sit there and try to play somebody or 1 or 2 people. You know, you got one over here, you got one over there. That's too much energy. Let them know up front, like, you are not the only one. Now, if that's not the case and they are the only one, you make sure that you date. Like, okay, you're going to meet the children later, but you already know. And then for the lady, hey, guys too, if you have children, let them know you got kids. They're not going to meet them right then and there. That's not going to happen. But at the same time, it's not like, oh, well, who's this little girl right here? Oh, that's my daughter. Well, damn, we've been together for 6 months. When you going to tell me you had a child?
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
do I have to deal with the crazy baby mama or the baby daddy that's all jealous? Do I got to beat this nigga up? You know what I mean? What do I have to, or can I get along with this guy? Can we come to an understanding that doesn't have to be said? I know she don't want him no more. I'm not worried about him coming to see his child. You're always welcome to come see your child.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the second you disrespect her, though, now we got a different conversation. But we don't have to go there when everybody's an adult. Then you don't have those problems. A lot of times, some people are still, they want the adult title, but they're grown boys and grown girls trying to now be an example for somebody, and they don't know what an example looks like.
Correct.
You know what I
You're
mean?
correct.
So then you get into this, well, I don't like your child's father. Okay. Or I don't like your child's mother. Okay. But you know what? I can't choose what happened beforehand, and I'm not going to even try to change that, because you can't change history and what's done. What you can do is, when you love somebody, you say you love them, and then when you meet that child, you get that child all that love. And now, if you're the outside person, you know what you got to do? You got to get that permission slip from mama and daddy before you go to jumping down some throats. But then it becomes not 1 versus 2, it's 3, training the child in the way they should go. Now the child understands I have a bonus parent that's going to love me, not going to let me go the wrong way. And should something happen that they do go, I still love you. But now we're going to figure out how we going to fix this issue.
Okay.
Yes.
So I see that you all, well, Toya, you brought up children, and John, both of you brought up children, especially, in relationships, past relationships. And you think about those children and belonging. There are times even in certain relationships with people, and the children are introduced to these people, but they don't belong. And that is because the adult makes them feel like they don't belong. That's an issue for me, because later on in life, Toya may get these people and I will get these people. These are the broken people that we get because in their childhood they were never belonged. They were never a part of anything because they were rejected and they don't even know why. And can I tell you, for anyone that is listening, that was never your problem. It was the problem of the person that came into your parents' life at that time that was already broken. And what they did was they watched and saw the relationship between the child and the parent. And when they saw that, they wanted to come in between that. So they find ways to make that child feel less than,
Woman
not
Thou
a
Out
part
Loose. Remember that movie? Woman Thou Out Loose. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Women
Yes.
That Are
And
Loose. I remember that
yeah,
movie. Yeah.
that is a
Hey,
good
April.
example of that. Hmm.
Yeah, April, just really quickly, I wanted to speak to something that Dean said a minute ago and everything like that. I think that part of the problem is that it's become too easy because we're in the instant society and everything like that for people to have what they are calling relationships and to have these relationships and to have multiple ones and everything like that because there's a lot of people that are quote
Uh, I know he said he on a different computer, so when we get him back, he can continue his point.
I
But
know it's like Mark come in and he come in hot and
yeah,
then
so what I will say is, watch for those things too. We want our children to belong. And once that person and John or Dean, you said several things that make so much sense. Trusting is a key to that too. Also the respect of everybody within that relationship. That is you, the person that you're dating, and then later on, if the child is introduced into the relationship, children deserve respect as well. You can't ask them to respect you, and then you turn around and you disrespect them, and then you don't expect them to not disrespect you. They will because they feel that you never respected them in the first place. So it
yeah, that's
goes
what I was
both.
getting to. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I think
Mark.
I got
We
cut
just
off, but
waiting for you to
I think
come
I
back
got cut
on.
off, but yeah, I think I got cut off, but what I was saying is that it's become too easy in the instant society because everybody's, you can be on WhatsApp and you can be on Instagram and you can be on all these different apps and there can be these multiple partners that are existing at the same time because a lot of people are living this fantasy life where they are living this fantasy life of being a player, even though they would not be doing that in real life if they were in their
that's why
real
they have
space. But it's
catfishing. That's what it is, because you're not talking to
right,
someone, so it's not really a relationship. So and
right.
thank you for
It's
even
these fake
saying that.
relationships.
Multiple
Right.
texting and everything.
Multiple
Hmm.
texting, multiple relationships, and all on those. And I want to come back to something else that we were talking about really quick, and I might have to bounce off. Got to go deal with the band downstairs and count them and everything like that. But the other thing
Okay.
that you got to deal with respect and all along those lines is this notion of and I agree because if there was a mistake that I feel that I made in my past relationships, one was when I was dating a young lady and she had a young kid at the time. The kid is grown now and everything like that. But I do know that we were doing some serious courting. I'll just put it that way, and then some serious petting. Who knows? It might have even gone even further than that and all along those lines. And we were doing it after studying together and things in that space because I had already left school, but they were in school and getting a different degree and everything like that. So we might study at a restaurant and then go to a place to stay, whether it's an apartment or a motel or whatever. And the kid would be with us and everything like that. We're thinking the kids are asleep. Kids are not as quickly to go to sleep as we think they are, and all along those lines. So we were probably influencing that kid at a very young age with what we were doing, thinking that they're not paying any attention. When in hindsight, as they got to be teenagers and they acted out, I'm thinking that part of the reason that they were acting out is because some of the things that we were doing that we were thinking that they weren't paying attention. But kids are a lot more keen to what's going on than we give them credit for. And that's what I want to let folks know is that if you're going out on a date with somebody's got a kid and the kids are involved in your dating process, make some sort of arrangement. Don't have the kids in the same space, even if it's nothing but simple kissing and things that are on the lighter side of romance and everything like that. But be sure that you have given the kid space as well, because sometimes we are so caught up in the moment that we're not thinking about the fact, or we're like, that kid's asleep, that kid's knocked out. And the kid is like, in the back of the mind, the kid's like, yeah, they think I'm asleep, but I'm really watching what's going on. I might try this when I get a little older and everything like that. And a little older might only be 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
5 or 6. That is a good point.
No,
That's
the thing was, I got in
really
trouble. I
good.
was playing house. They said, "What you doing?" I said, "We playing house. I'm the mama. That's the daddy. Those are the kids." Remember, as kids, and it's funny. I got a spanking for that, for playing house. But y'all were playing. Y'all were playing house, and we didn't know any better. And I said, "Why am I getting a spanking?" You know, you got the Barbies and GI Joe. So thank you, Mark. But things are different now. The kids are not playing with toys. They're on video games. So
It's
and
because,
on
but
YouTube.
it's not the kids' fault. It's not the kids' fault. It's the adults' fault. So I was fortunate enough to grow up in the house with my mother and my father, right? And I didn't see past the see you later kids, the little kids going to work thing. I never saw any intimate moments between my mother and my father. There's certain things that we couldn't be around. They were listening to, watching TV, all of that stuff. Hey, look, stay in a child's place. It's time for y'all to go downstairs, or y'all need to go in the other room, or wherever it was. Now, fast forward, everything is done in front of the kids.
Correct.
So now they do all of these things, and you figure the children are not dumb. We're dumb for thinking that. And they're like sponges. So they take every little thing. It's like you say, you got to be careful with girls, because the man shows a girl how a man is supposed to treat her based on what daddy does. But God learns some things of how to treat a woman by what mama does. And you got to be real careful about what you show. Even if you think they not paying attention, now you over there, you having a full-blown argument, and they translates that into that's love when it's not. So then they're sitting there trying to decipher, like you see a relationship where a guy and a female have been together. Oh, y'all been together. How can you be with somebody that long, just one person? You know why? Because when things got tough and shit was tough, was thick, and excuse my language, but that one person was there. That person cares. That person is not going to be here for a second, turn around and disappear. So can I be one? Yeah. Because when I decided I was going to get married, all that other stuff just got to get put on the back burner. It's done. Let somebody else do that. It takes too much energy to run back and forth and do all of that. I can't remember my own stuff. I'm trying to remember colors, what you like to eat, what you like to do, things I don't, all of that stuff you have to learn from another person to get along and to mesh with, not just be alongside of, to be a part of. So when the two becomes one, it actually becomes one and not 1.5.
Thank you, Dean. If I could jump in really quick, you are 100% correct. I was in a long, I call them situationship. That's what a situationship is. And thank you for sharing that. Because of my father, watching his relationships, I was with someone off and on for a very long time and probably shouldn't have, because at the end of the day, when I had my lowest moments, that person was there. All of my medical surgery, that person checked. So think about it. You learn from example, but then I had to really look at it. And thank you, Dean, because you're part of that transition, because we had some talks, if you recall. All I know is that the person was there. If you think about it, years ago, they had a common law thing. In New Jersey, never had it. If you were with someone for at least 10 years, and when you think about it, there's a lot of relationships where these women have children. One thing about me, I didn't play that. My father was like, you ain't having all them kids. And my family. So when you think about that, if I would have had children with this individual, imagine having children with this individual, I'm stuck. But one thing about my rearing, I had two sides, so you have to think about it. That kind of shaped me into who I am today. So thank you for sharing that today on the show, because sometimes consistency ain't always healthy. And that's when it becomes a relationship. It could be sexual abuse, emotional abuse, economic abuse. And a lot of time, the women, as you just stated, that's the father of their children. They're stuck because that person, their love is quantified by money. So if I need something, I may stay there longer. And I've been in situations myself like that, or there's women that I have worked with who had to go to jail for their man. And there's a show, what's on, I think it's TV One, For My Man. This stuff is real. And where you work at, you probably saw on the other side, they're incarcerated. And they will go to jail for their man. Because think about it, that's all they know. There was a show that I watched the other week. The girl had met the guy when she was 14. She went to jail for her man because of the lifestyle. Check it out on TV One. So that is real life for some people. That's their reality. So thank you for opening that door.
So all that y'all are talking about, I just want to bring it full circle about you all are talking about mostly relationships, but again, belonging is where I want to stay at. That's the topic.
And that's where I'm not to interject. That's what I'm trying to say. When you watch this show, if anyone watches it, she wanted to belong.
Watched it.
That's what that was. They said she went to jail because she wanted to belong. I get
that. She wanted to be connected and belong. Okay, go ahead.
Are you talking about now? Let's taking it out of the relationship part, but interpersonal relationships, groups of people that are you talking about? Like certain groups of people, you get with them, but they don't click with you. They may do something a little different. Are you talking about like that? Because I walked in on the middle of.
Yeah, that's the area I'm trying to stay in. Like,
okay.
I'm talking about community because you all are talking about individual type of relationships.
Because it's transferable skills. That's what I'm trying to see. How transfers into that. That's what I'm trying to see. That learned behavior happened in a home, went to personal relationships, and now it's in the community.
But now you're talking about groups of people who are not in a committed relationship. You're talking about people who are your associates? Who are those that you
I'm talking about again
share experience and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Community type relationships. This is where you see if you are a part of something, right? Or what do you do to belong or not have to sacrifice who you are? That's the conversation that I'm trying to have versus the relationship piece of
yes, you know what I mean? You, Dr. Diamond.
Yeah, because again, shifted to individuals. That's where y'all went to. I'm trying to shift it back to where people can understand what happens when you're in a setting where you belong or don't belong. And what I was trying to take it to is historically what we did as a community back in the day and what we're doing now. And then how we're on the outside. As far as people of color, we're still on the outside, but we've learned how to work together, whole community. That's what I was trying to get back to.
Yeah, so one of the things that I would say is we've learned to tolerate. We've learned to tolerate even those who look like us, who may not necessarily have the same values, beliefs, or whatever that we do. So we need learning, and so you can learn them, not just come all the way up, but find who I'm gonna invite to the house. You know what I mean? You have to pay attention and listen, because in listening, you'll find out a whole lot about people. They present as one thing, but the longer they talk, the more you find out. So you can't jump in. Sometimes you just gotta fall back and just listen. They might not be, and you can determine who is in your community, if we're talking about in that sense. So now, you want to move with those of like minds, and everybody else we tolerate. I might need something for you later on, so I'm not going to cut you off, but you will not be a part of that outer circle, because there's an outer circle and then there's an inner circle. Those in the inner circle are those who are closest to you. Everybody else is just kind of around, and we get along, but you don't know those little things about me. I don't know those little things about you. And you have to take the time to decipher who belongs on your front row. You know what I mean? And you can't just put everybody in your front row and then try to take them off when something happens, because they'll tell you exactly who they are. You just got to listen and pay attention. And,
and I hear that, Dean.
Because it's not a front person,
Okay, and this is where I hear what this is. So Dr. Diamond, what I did is when you open this topic, we kind of swayed, but I was there where you are. So what I was trying to give it to you from a molecular level, right? So the molecular level is when we come out here, we come from our foundation, right? And as Dean said, we come out because we decided to join this community. So what he's saying is when you come outside of your home, your house, and I'm going to think about Meet the Parkers, right? Remember they said you're in the circle, outside of the circle. So what he's saying is, your circle. When you go outside, you got to see who's outside the perimeter. Can they come into the circle of trust? That's what I think about. I'm trying to put it there. So what he's saying is you got to hang back, because sometimes people put on a facade. One thing that I have taught with my wisdom of learning from other people that I gravitated is that people will show you who they really are. Sometimes we don't believe that. And I just think that sometimes when we are going out in here, we have triggers. And as he said, you got to sit back, because you may be triggered by what someone does. But the whole thing that I was trying to say with my setup is I know who I am. Now you have person A and person B coming together. Basically, when I came here, our motive was we came for the mission for this organization or whatever the community is. I came for that mission. However, people come in with that mission, but they may not even be with that mission. They may be a facade or something like that. So that's what my experience has been. So as you said, when you opened it up, when I popped on, you said you walked out, someone came back. What Dean just said is they know they have a motive, possibly. They're going to keep you here on this table here. I'm going to leave you sitting here. I'm going to come and blow the dust off of you. Now I need you. Now I'm going to access you. So sometimes in that particular case, that's when the community goes off. That's what my experience has been. I have been invited somewhere. Everything is cool. Then one day I may not be feeling good. Maybe they're not feeling good. Something happens and I'm like, I'm shell shocked. So that's the whole thing, is that people need to know oneself first. Because what if I'm having a bad day? For me, I'd rather stay home, because I don't want to break down something, my foundation of what I really love, because I'm not the best person today, but not everybody else is there mentally. The maturity levels are different. So that's really what I see when you go out to community. Some people need it for whatever it is. I'm not here for clout. When I come out for something, I'm usually, if I come outside of myself, I am very intentional. I'm there for the purpose. You understand? When Mark talked about all these different organizations, I'm there for the grassroots mission. And what I've noticed that some people have a motive for whatever it is. That's when I notice, for me, if I look at it from a mental health perspective, when you observe, you have to think when someone goes for a job, I want this job, right? You're getting paid for it. But then sometimes your job performance may not be, and that's when you get let go. But when you're volunteering yourself, there's no assessment. I don't get an annual appraisal for my admission or my participation, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I see from a QI lens. That's what I do every day. Sometimes I get misunderstood because that's what I look at. Because when I go in to investigate, I take people's heads off. What am I looking at? So now when I'm doing group therapy or anything like that, or in that setting observing, I'm seeing person A, person B, person C, and I observe. Just like with your children. Like when you go out somewhere, there are people that observe. The older wives.
So let me interject for a second. So let me interject.
I get what you're saying. So you got to know who you are first, so that you don't get pulled some kind of way. You got to know you.
I agree with all of that. You got to know where your who you are, who your audience is. However, when I'm listening to you, because remember, I'm listening, because I'm a listener too.
Yeah.
Our topic is about belonging, but it turned into individual relationships. So now you're confusing what this topic is supposed to be about. That's why I'm trying to bring us back to the topic. So when we're talking about belonging, we're talking about community, because you're thinking about where do I belong?
Well, give us an example, because Dean and I give us an
community. I'm talking about it. Your family is where you begin, where I started talking about belonging. This is where you start learning, what does it feels like to belong to something? You belong to your family first. Then as you go out into the community, you start developing other relationships and you feel like you belong there. But there are times that you learn that those aren't the people that you're belonging to, but you don't know that until you experience it. And that's correct. What I'm trying to get people to understand about that. And if you're trying to target young people, you got to give them the foundation. You belong to one group, then you belong to another group, then another, but then you're going to experience things within these groups. But correct. Good, bad, or indifferent. It's what you take away from these experiences. That's where I'm trying to go to. And I also want people to know historically, we're very good at being a community and learning to bring people in so they belong. You have people back in the day where, like we all grew up in the 70s, everybody raised the children in the community. Am I right or wrong?
But there's no big mama, so we're missing the piece. That's
yeah,
what we're
that's
missing.
the stuff that
That's
we
what
can
we're
talk
missing.
about
It's
now.
not there.
That springs
there.
to us now in the
Right.
beginning, but what people need is the example of what you asked for. What is the example of that? That's what I'm talking about. When we talk about belong, I can remember when you feel like you belong a part of a group, even outside of your home, you did have another adult to correct you.
The community watch.
You know?
They told you, they called that phone. You be
Yes.
somewhere, they're gonna call you before you get home. I experienced
Yes,
that. But
exactly.
It's non-existent
Exactly.
now. So what I
Yes,
was trying
it
to
is.
explain, I think Dean and I were there with you. However, we're talking about where we are now. So you're correct. We're missing that. So can you explain what it should look like, Dr. Diamond? Because that's where Dean and I we're in 2026.
No,
So now
hold
we
on,
need to get
hold
people
on.
back there.
I understand
I know, but
exactly
I'm going by
what
what you
you're saying.
said. I'm going by what
So-
you said, sir.
Community will look different for each person because we're all
Thank you.
individuals. You're not
Correct.
going to, you can't say community should look like this because it doesn't. There's some places where I can go and I'm completely comfortable, and you might go and you might not fit, and vice versa. So you have to see what group of individuals fit with your beliefs,
Like-mindedness.
your
Like-mindedness.
values, and things of that nature. But then you start to get to know those individuals on a different level where it's not just surface. You know, surface ones, that's like, okay, I see you, I don't see you. If I don't see you, I'm not
That's
worried about
associate
it.
level. That's the
As you
associate level.
go, but as you come into community, those individuals are closer than others, and you're able to have certain conversations and express your fears and your problems and things that you may have that people can help you come through, overcome, or whatever it may be. But your community looks different. Each one of us on the phone has a different community will actually be. So there's no set template for what community looks like, because you could be in a community of, you bring some other people around, they be like, how in the hell do you associate with them, right? But it's not always.
It's the motive.
It doesn't.
I see the motive
doesn't
of the
fit.
contact.
But what you have to do again is observe.
John, let me
listen.
interject again too. So let's use all three of us as an example. I am from Harlem, New York. John is from Virginia. You're from where? New Jersey?
New Jersey, yep.
Correct.
Well, I
All
had
three
a
of
couple
us-
places that I lived. I
all
was
three of
born,
us-
but I lived a lot of places. So.
Me too. I lived in different places as well. However, we've all grown up differently. Our communities are different. The way that for some people, when they meet me, and I'm talking to go to now, because of my exterior, because of how I grew up in the community I grew up in, I do have that same tough, hard way of looking at stuff, because that's the way I grew up. And now I have to curtail some of that because some people don't know me until they speak to me. John is different from me, although he's tough as well, but he still grew up in the South. So did my family.
We speak to everybody.
I know the difference between one side of my family and the other side. My mother's side of the family, they're much nicer than my father's side of the family. But at the end of the day, being and belonging to both sides, I still have it helped develop who I am today. So
Correct.
as I'm going through life today, all three of us move through life very differently. The way we go into different communities is different. There are times
all Leos. That's the other commonality, which I think that we all checked off the
but
box.
still, people can reject or accept who I am. And I have to learn that. And sometimes when people reject you, it's just what they're feeling at that moment. And it happens. And I reject people too. This is not the person that I want in my circle because I don't want them there. They don't bring me an energy that I want. I may not bring somebody the energy that they want. So they're like, nah, she's not the person for me. So when you think about how we get along and how we move through different spaces, that's a big part of how we move through spaces. Big part of it.
Yeah. And thank you for that, because we were there, but then we kind of Mark made a comment and then we went there. But I think that it was needed because I could see something. We all are like-minded. We have a common goal. However, what we see is different. My point is, I feel that you are correct. We all come from a family of origin. And then from there, we go out into the world. We pick up different things. Then we decide who we are, because our identity is based on our past. But again, just to even speak to that community outside, we don't have the big mamas, as which we spoke about. I'm glad I had that. So that's where I pull my roots from. So now anybody that's confused, I like to do a poll. I love doing polls. We'll send out a survey monkey, answer this. When you get everyone's information, then you have an understanding of why someone can't see what you and I can see. You understand what I mean? Because if you're missing that foundation.
No, I don't. So the poll, what would be the purpose of the poll for?
Because you made something.
Shifted? No, because the topic shifted.
And this is what I'm trying to explain to you. I see something different. I digress. I just see something different. And the only reason for me to get an answer, I would need some statistical numbers to get it. So I'm going to stay there. And maybe we can do that on another date, because I see something different, because I do that at work. So I'm gonna leave it here.
We're all going to have difference of opinions, okay? Because we're human. We're not going to agree. We're going to disagree on things. Well, all I'm talking about is making sure we're staying on topic. That's all I'm saying. So if there's correct, right? So if the topic is belonging, and what does that mean to the average person? That's what I'm talking about. It's just bringing the topic back. That's all I'm talking about. And that is not to offend anyone on this podcast. This is about what we need to stay with, because we want to make sure we keep our listeners engaged on the topic that we are talking about. So when I'm trying to move us back, I'm just moving us back to the topic, so we're not veering off and going somewhere else. When you start talking about intimate type of relationships, now we're talking about something totally different than belonging. Because if you're just talking about an intimate relationship, you're talking about the belonging of one person to the other. And then it started with the children involved in the relationship. So if you're taking it away from what I'm speaking of, then quite naturally, my job is to also bring it back. So the topic is where we need to be. That's it. Plain and simple.
Correct. And I am with you, Dr. Diamond. I was just saying that those kids become adults. And that's where I try to go to the beginning. And I get it. So thank you.
It didn't stay in that area. Kids are adults. But go ahead, Dean.
No. So when we bring it all the way back, and like I said, I walked into it at that one point. So what does community look like? What will you accept? What will you not accept? What do you like? What do you not like? But then there's also beauty in, even with the group that you have, when individuals may not necessarily agree with you. If you listen to what they have, then they can help you see things from a different point of view. They can help you, you may be, I'm one of those people, I've been there at times, I'm thinking it's one way and this is how it is. But then when you listen to the other side, it makes a lot more sense than the way that you were thinking. So they also help you. That's a part of the individuals that's in your community that are not going to always agree with you, but they don't mean you any harm. Those are the individuals, and each person has to pick their own community. Nobody can force a community on you, because it's the vibe that you get. It may be a group of people that are already together that you join. There's some that you get along with. There's some you don't. And those are the ones you tolerate, but you focus more on the individuals. So now that becomes a sub-community of what you have. So with that being said, now I got to where I'm supposed to be, and they calling me already outside, so I'm going to go out there, right? But what I will say is, whenever you walk out of your front door, it's showtime, and the world is your stage. Just make sure the people are not watching the rehearsal. Dr. Diamond, Miss Toya, I'm about to get out of here. It's the six-man Dean Geronimo. I'll see y'all later. All right?
Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Okay, bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of On the Couch. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation and found it as enlightening and inspiring as I did. Remember, the stories and experiences